People have built massive structures to protect the land that they rule over. A fortress is a military stronghold that's often bigger than a castle and can fit a lot of people inside. Some fortresses are so large, entire cities can prosper within their walls. Much painstaking labor must be done, but in the end, you can feel safe from zombies or armies trying to attack you. Today we're going to take a quick look at 15 of the greatest forts ever built.
Hey guys, how's it going? This is your host, American Eye. Now make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit that like button, and ring that bell for notifications. Now let's get started.
Number 15. Città di Palmanova. Imagine living in a city that was actually just one giant fortress. If you live in the Italian city of Palmanova, you might know what it's like. This planned city was built during the Renaissance and was officially founded on the anniversary of 1571 when Christian forces defeated the Ottoman Turks. In any case, the surrounding barriers are quite unique. It was supposed to be an ideal society, symmetric, and as perfect as possible. The fortifications around the town would certainly make you think it was difficult to invade with a large army. The shape design was ahead of its time in this case. All the angles make it much more difficult for the enemy soldiers to approach it easily, and it creates ways to fire at various different sides. It also features a moat, which would make it even more difficult to get close to. We'll see more star-shaped fortresses later on in this video. Number 14. Fort La Latte. Located in the eastern part of the region of Britannia, Fort La Latte is situated on a small peninsula, and it seems like a good place to hide out at during the zombie apocalypse. The impressive fort was built on a small piece of land and isn't quite as imposing as other fortresses on this list. It does get pretty windy though in this area, which makes it an excellent spot for windsurfing. The tallest part of this fort stands at 196 feet above the water due to its position on the rock. It was built in 1685 by one of Louis XIV's best military architects. Number 13. Red Fort, India. Construction began of a massive fortified palace in India when the Mughal Empire decided to shift power from the city of Agra to Delhi. The Emperor Shah Jahan constructed this massive complex from 1639 to 1648. It includes various displays of Muslim architecture. The massive walls and towers throughout the palace here helped it earn the nickname of the Red Fort. Although it was originally red and white, the Emperor's favorite colors, the extensive fortifications here make it one of the best places to hide out at in Southeast Asia during an invasion. Number 12. The island of Malta. The island of Malta has an extensive number of fortifications. Here you can find walled fortresses, citadels, forts, towers, redoubts, and pillboxes. The strategic location has made it desired by many different powers, and if zombies decide to come in, there will be an extremely large number of fortified places to hide. Here we see Fort Noelle, built by the Knights of St. John. It was slightly damaged during WW2, but then restored and back in fighting condition. Every strategic location of this city is fortified, including St. Andrew's Bastion. At the very tip of the harbor stands Fort St. Elmo, which was stood as siege by the Ottomans that lasted for 25 days. Number 11. Oscarsborg Fortress. Norse history isn't just limited to the Vikings. They also played an interesting role in WW2 as we see here. This fort is situated on two small islands and is well known for shooting down a heavy German cruiser in April of 1940. The Norwegian fjords proved to be an excellent place for naval ships to hide out at. However, the fort had outdated weaponry. This led to Norway becoming under German occupation. You can still see parts of the torpedoes that were once stored here and 28cm guns at Point East. Don't forget to explore the underground bunkers made of reinforced concrete and the old barracks that were built in 1893. Number 10. Malbork Castle. Located in Poland, Malbork Castle, aka the Castle of the Teutonic Order in the city of Malbork, is actually the largest castle in the world. Measured by land area, it takes up the most space. This makes it a formidable choice for kings and queens to feel safe. It was constructed by the Teutonic Knights, who had many similarities with the Knights Templar. In any case, it served as a residence for several Polish princes and princesses up until the Swedish occupation of Poland. It's found on the banks of the Nogat River, which would help reduce the flow of invaders coming from the west. It's also in close proximity to the Baltic Sea. The gates were also very strong and kept out invaders for the most part. Seems like an enchanting place to take a walk around if you make it out to Poland someday. Number 9. The Darawar Castle. Located on a sloping cliffside is an abandoned medieval fortress that seems like it would be impossible to build something on. The site has been fortified since the early medieval ages for a strategic territory that overlooks the North Sea. Not only has it been needed to protect against raids from the English to the south, but also the pillaging Scandinavians to the east. It was certainly an imposing fortification, which was difficult to lay siege upon for centuries. Can you imagine being a soldier and getting orders to march on this place? Today, you can still see things such as cannon blasts and arrow shots that took its toll on the castle. It's not an easy castle to access by any means, especially from heavy rain and turbulent winds. In the 1600s, it was fitted with gun ports, but obviously, its best defense is its natural aspects. Due to its isolation besides from the city of Stonehaven, even getting here without arrows flying at you could prove to be difficult. Number 8. The Agra Fort. Located a couple hundred miles south of New Delhi is where you'll find the city of Agra, which is where you'll find the Agra Fortress. It was the primary residence of the emperors of the Mughal dynasty until 1638, when the capital was moved to Delhi. It takes up an impressive 94 acres of land, and its walls are 70 feet high. The fort has two notable gates, which includes the Delhi Gate and the Lahore Gate. It's surrounded by a moat and is on the banks of the Jamuna River to add to its fortifications. There are many interesting historical sites to visit inside the fort, including the Madaman Burj, which is actually a beautiful palace made of marble and red sandstone. Fun fact, you can actually see the Taj Mahal from the balcony of this palace. Number 7. Fort Boyard. Located in the western part of France, off the coast of the city known as Rochefort, stands an extremely isolated fortress which was built in the 17th century. It was meant to protect the harbor and the nearby Ile d'Aix to the northwest. Enemy ships, however, would simply sail around it and avoid making contact, essentially making it useless. Walls of the tower measure up to 60 feet high and is capable of garrisoning 250 men. Although it's close to some cities, you really won't see this kind of thing too often in the middle of the ocean. Almost seems like the perfect prison, doesn't it? Number 6. Darawar Fort. Located across the border of India and Pakistan is one of the most imposing forts on this list. It's found just south of the city of Bahawalpur and it's visible for miles and miles away. Constructed in the 9th century AD by a Hindu ruler, it stands about 90 feet tall and the perimeter measures 1,500 meters. It was likely built to protect trade routes and has become a popular tourist attraction for those who can actually get there. Being located in the Cholistan Desert, summer temperatures can make this place extremely hot. Number 5. Pratapgarh Fort. Another crazy-looking fortress is found in the country of India and is found in the western state of Maharashtra. It's built on top of a hill and stands 3,540 feet above sea level, making it another fine place to hide out at during the zombie apocalypse. It proved to be very useful during the Battle of Pratapgarh, where the Hindus were able to fend off the invading Muslim armies. Number 4. Peter and Paul Fortress. This fortress is found in the Russian city of St. Petersburg and was founded by Peter the Great in 1703. This was built in a star-shaped design, which was popular once cannon technology began to advance. The fortress was originally built to serve as protection to St. Petersburg against the Swedish Navy. It served primarily as a prison for political enemies during the Romanov dynasty. Bolshevik propaganda would tell people that it was a place where many people suffered and that was grossly overcrowded. When the revolution broke out, the prisoners broke out as well. There was only 19 people, which was vastly under the number that the Bolsheviks had made them believe. Number 3. Fort Knox. Fort Knox is equipped with the strongest, most up-to-date technology in order to secure gold supplies. It's currently surrounded by landmines, machine guns, and electric fences. The military bases use radar to detect any trespassers, and they're not afraid to show off that they got armed guards at all times. The building itself is made up of 16,000 cubic feet of granite and 750 tons of reinforced steel. It also has 4,200 cubic yards of concrete. It's rumored to be able to withstand a direct hit from a nuclear bomb. You might be allowed to stand outside the gates and take a photo, but no one's allowed inside. The gate that locks up the gold weighs 22 tons of a classified blast-proof material. We should also mention that the surveillance system here can spy on every square foot of land, so good luck getting in. Number 2. Walls of Constantinople. Walls and fortifications of the city of Constantinople were built during the reign of Emperor Theodosius between 408 AD and 450 AD. It was well known for being one of the hardest cities to conquer during the period of time. Eventually, they were damaged by earthquakes, and in order to keep the Huns out from hopping the walls, they ordered rival chariot teams to repair various sections. The walls measured 60 feet tall and even had a moat that was 20 feet deep. There was further protection by constructing an outer wall and an inner wall, making it a serious fortification to reckon with. It certainly made the Byzantine Empire great again until the 1400s, when the Ottomans with cannons arrived at town. Eventually they would conquer the city, rename it Istanbul, and transform the Hagia Sophia into a mosque. And number 1. Fort Monroe. Fort Monroe is just one of those places that gets a little bit spooky and quite possibly haunted. It sits on the coast of Virginia and was an important Union stronghold not far away from the Confederate capital of Richmond. It was also known as the Freedom Fortress. Jefferson Davis even stayed here as a prisoner at the end of the war, and it appears as though many soldiers haven't left this place. Witnesses claim to see ghosts walking around here late at night and feel some kind of presence. They've also seen shaking windows, and they've captured audio of a little girl calling for a cat. A ghostly white lady that appears is thought to be the soul of a general's wife who shot her after she had an affair.
So what'd you guys think of that video? Remember to hit like, comment, and subscribe, and help us get to 1 million subscribers. We'll see you next time.